Hey there, STEM enthusiasts! Welcome back to Kameron's Lab Dive In, the go-to podcast for STEM students, crafted with passion by one of your own. I'm Kameron, your enthusiastic and ever-curious host. Buckle up for today's insightful episode. Ready to dive in? Just last week, I landed in Cannes, France, where the WAICF World AI Cannes Festival was held. It was my first time visiting France, and I was over the moon about it. To be honest, I always envisioned my first time in France to be, something out of the movies. You know, Paris, the Eiffel Tower. I could stroll down some quaint streets, find a lovely cafe, and enjoy a warm, buttery croissant with some fresh orange juice. That was a dream. But that's not to say that Cannes wasn't wonderful. It was my first time being able to see the ocean every day since leaving Bermuda, so it brought up some feelings of nostalgia and calm for me. To get to Cannes, I had to fly to Nice first, and then take a train from there. Funny enough, when I went to get information about how to get to the train station, someone ahead of me was actually asking for the same directions. Now, this probably wasn't my safest move, but I asked if I could walk with them, just in case I got lost. They were very nice, and ended up also going to WAICF. So it was a funny little coincidence. The train ride was great. It was all wonderful ocean views and good company from there. Now, once we arrived at the train station in Cannes, my travel companion asked if I'd be okay by myself. Armed with Google Maps, I confidently said yes and hopped on a bus to get to my hotel. Well, as you probably guessed, I did need help. It turns out that the bus I caught was an outer city bus and not an inner city bus. So what should have been one stop trip ended up being an anxiety-inducing lesson in not blindly trusting Google Maps. Thankfully, there was a kind older gentleman that spoke English who helped me get off the bus before it left the city. The bus driver was no help and didn't want to stop. Understandably, I was technically on the wrong bus. But in my defense, Google only showed me one bus and didn't say that there were two different ones. Anyway, with the man's help, I was able to get off when somebody else was getting on the bus, and it ended up being okay from there. I wanted to catch the bus only to avoid walking, but because of my mistake, ended up doing more walking anyway. So I guess that's also a lesson in just, not being lazy. During my trip, I learned a few things about Cannes. The area around the venue is lined with luxury stores. Most of the people there were older, but very fashionable. I had to step up my game to try keeping up with them. If you'd like to see more of my time in Cannes, be sure to follow my Instagram and my TikTok, which is Kamerons_lab. I posted a couple videos of my time there, so be sure to check that out later. Now that I've set the stage with my initial experience in Cannes, let's talk about the WAICF. As I mentioned earlier, it stands for World AI Cannes Festival and has been running for about 3 years now, with this year being the third. Cannes was the perfect backdrop for this fusion of culture and technology. The conference was a convergence of minds from companies that are household names like IBM, Intel, and AMD. And also companies I hadn't heard of, like Macnica, United Robotics Group, Enchanted Tools, Videtics. This is also a quick plug for the fact that I interviewed these companies. So if you want to see that, definitely head over to either my LinkedIn or my socials. So, Instagram and TikTok. You can find those there. Now, most of the times at conferences, I tend to mainly attend the speeches to try to soak up as much knowledge as possible. But WAICF quickly flipped that on its head with all the booths that they had. There were so many sections. Gaming and AI, AI in business, security, cloud systems, servers, beauty and AI, robotics, my personal favorite, startups, and more. Honestly, that list barely scratches the surface. I couldn't walk away from all of that. The booth that first caught my attention with Macnica. For those of you who don't know, I'm an aspiring surgeon and robotics engineer. And one of my recent fascinations is the brain. For my final year project, I actually wanted to explore an EEG-based system a little bit more. I ended up doing tactile sensing for a myoelectric prosthetic, but that's a whole nother episode in itself, and I'm just going to breeze past that. Just to explain it a bit more, an EEG, which is an electroencephalogram, is a test that measures electrical activity in the brain using small metal discs, electrodes, that are either attached to the scalp, or sometimes it can be a bit more invasive and you can actually put them in your skull, but that sounds a lot more uncomfortable. Using those biosignals, researchers can create human-brain interfaces that allow us to learn more about how we think and control devices. You may have heard of Neuralink, Elon Musk's company, and a chip that they recently received FDA approval on. That could be an episode on its own, so I won't dive too deep into it now. But at Macnica's booth, I had the chance to not only interview them, that video is up on my Instagram and TikTok, but also try Sense Plus. Now, as a Black woman, I like wearing my natural hair out. I love it. It's great. But to use an EEG, it has to go on your head and make contact with your scalp. I was nervous, but the lovely demonstrator said that we only have problems for hairstyles like dreadlocks, so I went for it. It was awesome. Really glad that I didn't let my hair get in the way. The demo involved me identifying images of bungalows out of a variety of houses and counting them. Now, when I say counting them, I don't mean out loud. He told me to count them in my head, without actually saying it. This was surprisingly difficult, and I found it hard to keep focus and distinguish between them sometimes. In the end, I had an accuracy of 7 out of 9 and a focus of about 93%. The focus would usually be closer to 100% if the experiment was conducted in a quiet environment. But because there were people talking and moving around a lot, and it was expectedly lower, the score. It was a really fun experiment. And, might I add, my data was pretty good, and they said they'd use it for later. Patting myself on the back for that one. The other booth I loved had a robot who was so sarcastic. I don't think I can explain how funny he was. The researchers explained that they gave him that personality to help him stand out at the conference. But he can have a variety of different personalities and speak other languages. So I think he would have stood out regardless. He had a human-like face and a white plastic body that almost looked like a mesh. Definitely something out of a sci-fi movie. I'll let you listen to how sarcastic he was when asking different questions. Here, check this out.
To entertain myself by making fun of you idiots. What else would a robot like me do? Other robots are lame. I stand out as the bad boy everyone loves to hate, showing off my charm and wit while mocking humans who come near me. It's fun.
You see what I mean? Sarcastic, a little bit rude, but very funny either way. Now, Intel had a great booth too. They turned people into superheroes using Stable Diffusion, which is an AI software that lets you generate images, if you haven't heard of it already. It was cool to watch, though I must admit, I do wish that they had more options for natural hair. My superhero self looked pretty cool, and I'm definitely going to hang it up somewhere. One product that they demoed was especially interesting to me, as a podcaster. If you've ever heard of Audacity, Intel has a plugin for it called OpenVino that allows you to remove background noise and separate your audio into both music and voice. It even transcribes and translates. Very cool. Outside of that demo, there were some other memorable interactive stalls too. Oracle, for example, had an F1 race car simulator that I was so good at, totally amazing, and did not need help from 2 people after crashing. Yeah, that wasn't me. Thinkative, another booth, showcased their 3D design platform, which turns 2D sketches into 3D models. In a second, I might add. It was great. I was especially interested after my recent interview with Veronica Celes Vergara, who described learning different software while studying to be an architect. That episode is also up on my podcast, so that's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you're interested. Now, let me tell you about my favorite section, the robotics area. I can't describe the happiness that I felt getting to interact with those robots. It was like being a kid in a candy store. There was Tesla's Optimus. It was actually my second time seeing that in person, not to brag. Now, Pato and Pepper from United Robotics Group, Miruki and Mirukai from Enchanted Tools, and one that looked kind of like Spot from Boston Dynamics. It wasn't the same robot, but that's the best way I can describe it. I don't want to say I have a favorite out of all of them, but Miruki was super cute. He and his sister are based on a story where they come from another planet and come to Earth. The robots are able to perform tasks such as pushing trolleys and holding mugs using their custom handles. I love how Enchanted Tools brings storytelling to life using robotics. And I'll use this as an opportunity to segue into the talk given by their CEO, Jerome Mongso. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Apologies. It was titled, Meet Mirukai, a robot made to work among people. I think it was one of my favorite talks. Jerome spoke about how we need to think about how to build robots that connect with people. Robots aren't just engineering. We need to think about who they are and who they're for. As an example, their robots are used in the medical field to help out on the wards. They are loved by the children there for their animal-like appearance, expressions, and noises. Let's be real. The adults loved it as well. It's a cute, interactive experience. Jerome also encouraged us not to always think like engineers when designing robots. He mentioned that when he was designing the Mirukai, he went to a friend of his who does character design to make them. Because that's what he wanted his robots to be. Characters that people feel comfortable interacting with. It's really inspired me, as somebody who's interested in doing robotics, to think outside the box and to think not just, okay, how do I make this move? How do I make it do these things? But to think, who is it for? And how can I make it unique and easy for them to use? Enchanted Tools has a whole story behind their robots. And it's the first time where stories and video games can jump out and interact with us in robot form. Very cool. The robots are currently operating in 5 hospitals in Paris and help out a lot on the wards, as I mentioned. During the time for questions, someone asks if the robots can climb stairs. For reference, the robots navigate on top of a ball and move around that way. Jerome explained that robots created to do everything are often not that great at anything. This may make them hard to maintain and even dangerous sometimes. For example, do you really want a 70-kilogram robot climbing the stairs in a hospital where there are vulnerable people and children? I don't think so. One thing I found really interesting in their robot is how they've incorporated GDPR. One of the main concerns in AI and robotics, well, technology in general really, is privacy. Enchanted Tools has a small chip-like device that you can use for the robot to follow, rather than it following your face. Pretty cool, right? Next, let's delve into a stimulating panel debate titled, Should We Slow Down Research on AI? This debate sparked considerable interest, and the consensus reached by the panel was rather clear. No, we should not slow down AI research. Renowned AI expert Yann LeCun shared his insights, emphasizing a crucial point. If there's even a remote chance of AI posing a threat to human existence, we simply wouldn't continue developing the technology in that direction. What do you think? He advocates for a future where AI assistants are accessible to everyone, underlining the importance of open source and democratic principles in AI development. Francesca Rossi, another distinguished voice in the field, brought an interesting perspective on the risk level of AI. According to Rossi, it directly correlates with how we treat and manage this technology. This point underscores the importance of responsible and ethical AI development. Mark Brackle, another member of the panel, offered a historical analogy to put the development of AI into perspective. He compared AI's advancement to the splitting of an atom, which was once deemed impossible. Yet, it was achieved a day later by a Hungarian scientist. This story serves as a reminder of the unpredictable and potentially sudden leaps in technological progress. In conclusion, the path forward with AI should be one of cautious optimism, balancing innovation with responsibility. We shouldn't hinder the progress of AI research, but rather guide it with ethical principles and a vision for a better future for all. Alessandra Sala, Senior Director of AI and Data Science at Shutterstock, gave a particularly enlightening talk titled New Models in AI and Their Implications for Creativity and the Artistic Community. It was incredibly heartening to witness a company acknowledging and actively addressing the biases and issues prevalent in AI. During the talk, Shutterstock's approach to AI-generated content, especially images of Black women with their natural hair, was showcased. It was refreshing and empowering to see such a diverse and authentic representation. The images weren't just basic representations. They included even detailed styles like Afro puffs. Alessandra raised important questions that resonate deeply within the AI and artistic communities. How do we inform customers about AI-generated content? What are the copyright laws surrounding such creations? These questions are critical as we navigate the intersection of AI, creativity, and ethics. One of the most pressing issues in generative AI is its struggle with racial bias and plagiarism. Shutterstock's approach to building a platform based on clean, safe-for-work content from photographers, who are of course compensated fairly, is a commendable step towards responsible AI usage. This not only ensures quality and ethical standards, but also fosters a healthier digital environment. Moreover, Shutterstock's Uplift program, designed to provide financial support to historically underrepresented groups, is a great initiative. It allows diverse perspectives on diversity, offering a platform for voices that are often unheard. This program is a beacon of hope, illustrating how technology can be leveraged to create a more inclusive and equitable world. As she wrapped up the session, I left feeling optimistic and inspired. It's clear that the journey towards ethical and unbiased AI is challenging. But seeing companies like Shutterstock taking active steps to address these issues gives me hope for a more inclusive future in AI and technology. As we come to close today's episode, let's move on to what you've been waiting for. I'd now like to share my overall impressions of the WAICF. This event was a remarkable gathering of minds and ideas, and I'm thrilled to have been a part of it. Firstly, the booths at the conference were outstanding, both in variety and quality. It was evident that there was a significant investment from high-quality companies, showcasing the latest advancements and applications in AI. This diversity offered a comprehensive view of the current landscape in AI technology and its potential future directions. The speeches at the conference were particularly thought-provoking. What really stood out to me was the candor and willingness of the speakers to express differing opinions. This open exchange of ideas, sometimes contrasting, made for a dynamic and intellectually stimulating environment. It's rare and honestly refreshing to see such honest dialogues in a field as complex and rapidly evolving as AI. The venue, Palais des Festivals in Cannes, was nothing short of amazing. Its grandeur added a layer of excitement and prestige to the event, making it not just a conference, but an experience. The setting was fitting for the groundbreaking discussions and innovations being presented. However, every event has its room for improvement. My main complaint about the conference was I couldn't be in 2 places at once. There were so many talks that I unfortunately missed out on because of enjoying visiting the booths. I hope that they were recorded and that I'll be able to access them at a later date. As I discussed, the talks I did attend were wonderfully inspirational, and I would have liked to attend more of them. Another issue that I had was that it was difficult to network with other attendees. There was so much going on, and not a lot of opportunities to meet and chat with the other attendees, other than in between talks, and maybe as you interact with a booth. Overall, however, this conference was an amazing opportunity and experience for me. It was my first time having press accreditation, and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you to the WAICF team. I look forward to returning next year. Hi again, awesome listener. That wraps up another deep dive of Kameron's Lab Dive In. Before you dive back into your day, see what I did there? Take a second to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Want a behind-the-scenes look? Bonus content? Or just some good old STEM fun? Follow me on my socials, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Kameron's Lab. And remember, every episode is a new adventure, and we've got some thrilling dives lined up for you. Don't miss out! Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.